Underage marriage is not limited to the Middle East. Here is the average age of marriage in different countries of the world. In fact, there are countries where the average age of marriage is shockingly low, such as Spain and Mexico, while in other countries women tend to marry as late as possible, and Italian women are a good example of this. One of the factors affecting the average age of marriage is the economic situation in the country. Studies have shown that the better the economic situation in the country, the higher the average age of marriage. Customs, traditions, religion, and social values all have an impact on the average age of marriage in a country or region. The high average age of marriage in certain countries may have an impact on the population decline in this country, which is another topic that I may present in a later video. Let's get acquainted with the average age of marriage in different countries of the world. Let's start with the African countries. According to United Nations data, the average age of marriage in Mozambique is 18.7 years, while girls in Niger marry at an earlier age, with the average age at which girls marry at 17.2 years. The United Nations attributes this low average age of marriage to the fact that child marriage is still very common in many African countries, although it is banned in a number of countries such as Malawi, Gambia, and Chad. It is still very widespread in other countries. 1 in 5 girls around the world is married before the age of 18, and most of these marriages take place in Africa. Middle Eastern women marry in their early 20s. The average age of marriage for women in the Middle East is also low, due to the fact that underage marriage is still legal in a number of Middle Eastern countries. In Egypt and Iraq, for example, the average age at which women marry is around 22, according to the United Nations. The presence of a number of girls who marry under the age of 18 in the Middle East is what makes the average age at which girls marry does not exceed the early 20s, in most countries. The average age for marriage in Russia. Whereas Russian women used to marry at a young age in the past, women today prefer to wait longer before marrying their partner, according to the website. According to United Nations data, the average age at which women marry in Russia is 24.4, which is still a bit early, as elderly people still put pressure on women in Russia to marry at an early age. Average age of marriage in Mexico. Child marriage also remains a major problem in Mexico, although it was banned in 2014, according to NPR, with nearly a fifth of Mexican women marrying before they reach the age of 18. According to the United Nations, the average age of women in Mexico is 23.2, as many still maintain the traditions that require girls to marry at an early age, and many parents believe that there is no need for their daughters to go to school, as their job in the end is to marry and raise children. Average marriage age in China. It is interesting to know that the age at which women marry in each country rises according to the economic prosperity experienced by that country, and China is an excellent example of this. The average marriage age in China rose from 22 for women and 24 for men in 1990, to 25 and 27 respectively in 2016, a period during which the country experienced rapid economic growth. Today, these rates are even higher, and some explain that the focus of women in China on their careers and earning money makes them more selective, which contributes to their delay in marriage. Average age of marriage in Belgium. In Belgium, women are waiting longer to marry than in previous generations. According to UN data, 26.3 is the average age at which women usually marry in Belgium, which is a bit high compared to many other countries around the world. In the UK, women take their time before marriage compared to many other countries. A British-based wedding website conducted a study of 4,000 women, and the average age of marriage for them was 30.8 years, in 2017.
What about the Spanish? In 2015, BBC News reported that Spain had finally raised the minimum age for marriage from 14 to 16, as Spain previously had the lowest marriage age in Europe. Interestingly, although the legal age for marriage in Spain was and still is very low, many Spanish women did not marry at a young age, according to research by the United Nations. The average age of marriage in Spain today is about 27.7. In Japan, women marry before they reach the age of 30. In the past, women in Japan felt enormous pressure to marry at an early age, as every woman over 25 without marrying was considered a spinster, but times are now changing, and according to United Nations data released in 2020, the average age at which women marry in Japan is around 29. Dutch women. The Dutch do not adhere to the traditions of marriage like other countries, and Dutch women do not feel the increasing pressure from the environment as they get older, but marry when they find it convenient for them. Therefore, the average age of marriage in the Netherlands is 32.4, according to United Nations data. Italians. Italy may be a romantic destination for lovers, especially newlyweds, but it turns out that women there generally do not like the idea of marriage. Those who do decide to get married take extra time to make that decision. Women in Italy marry, on average, at 32.2 years of age, according to data from the United Nations. French women. In France, many women do not seem to be in a hurry to get married. United Nations data revealed that the average age of marriage for women in Western Europe is 32 years. French women postpone weddings longer than women in other countries. In Brazil, women and girls marry young. According to data from the United Nations, women marry in Brazil with an average age of 23.9, which is very young compared to the rest of the world. This low average is likely due to the fact that child marriage is still prevalent in the South American country, as child marriage is considered normal and acceptable in Brazil. Citing 2010 government census data, Reuters reported that Brazil ranks 4th in the world in the number of underage girls. And finally, women in the United States. For American women, marriage becomes less important over time, as marriage rates are lower than before, and the average age of marriage in the United States increases. The average age at which women marry in America is 27.5, according to data from the United Nations, which is a high average when compared to the average marriage rate for American women in the past. It is worth noting that the average age of marriage for men globally is 33 years. With this, I end this video hoping to meet you again.